Hello and good evening to everyone. Welcome to Bonington Gallery via our YouTube channel, and welcome to tonight's event, the Ivan Poe Roll-Thru and discussion. This event is taking place on the occasion of Here the Gold Ones Meet by Nottingham-based art collective Reactor, which has taken the form of an ongoing residency established at the start of April in the gallery that concludes with a 2-week exhibition including live performance and habitation that opens next week on Monday. The culmination of a 6-year body of work, Here the Gold Ones Meet documents the lives of a cohort of higher spiritual beings known as the Gold Ones, and consists of a myriad of large-scale projection, installation and live performance, encapsulating both physical and online platforms. Following tonight's event, as well as booking your tickets for the next couple of weeks, I encourage you to watch the documentation of the live stream performance that Reactor did last weekend, entitled The Gold Ones Dummies and the Cosmic Care Home 24-hour stream. Both of these are available on this YouTube channel. So on to tonight's event. The format will be a live performance roll-through of the Ivan Poe video game that will begin after this introduction and will last approximately 40 minutes. There will then be a 5-minute intermission to allow Reactor members enough time to transfer across to their screens. And we will then have a discussion with an invited panel of speakers till the events close at approximately 8:30. If you have any questions to put to Reactor and our panel, please drop them into the YouTube chat. And I will do my utmost to bring these into the discussion. Okay, without much further ado, we'll transfer over to the live feed from the gallery for the live performance roll-through, and I'll see you all in a bit. Thank you.
Hey, you're right. I'm a dummy. Look at that, man. I was a dummy right now. I was a dummy. Max is the greatest dummy. That's Max, right?
That's good.
I'll be the rat.
I can see you're doing really well now.
You gonna be spaceman.
Tell yourself
I'll be the
this.
rat.
And you is in space.
You'll be the
You is
spaceman.
in space.
I'll be the rat. You'll be the spaceman.
You's in space right now, man. You's in space.
Ready,
You
stacking
be right up in that space right there.
68%.
You went up right up on top of all the things. Like that.
I'll be the rat. You're the rat. You're the rat. You're the rat. You're the spaceman. You're the rat.
I'll be the spaceman. I'll be the space max. The max max. I'm gonna be the space max. Let's max the space.
You're
I
the
ain't
rat.
gonna get your hands off my feet. You touch my feet. You touch my feet. Why you won't touch my feet?
You're the rat.
Hey, let's shake hands, ready? Let's shake hands.
Let's shake hands.
Come on, right?
You're the rat.
Let's shake hands, right? Come on, right? There we go. Oh, yeah, that's right. Now we got it. We got it.
You got it.
I'll be the rat. You be the max.
I'll be the max. You be the rat.
I'll be the rat. You be the max. I'll be the rat. You be the max. I'll be the rat. You be the max.
I'll be the rat.
That's right. Come on. Hey, I'm busy.
I'll be the rat.
Fully edible.
I'm busy.
I'll be the rat. I'll be the rat. You be the max. 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 I'll be the rat. You be the max.
Come on, man. Come on.
I'll be the rat. You be the max. I'll be the rat. You be the max. I'll be the rat. You be the max. I'll be the rat. You be the max.
Come on, walk it over. Walk it over to me. Come on. Walk it over.
I'll be the rat.
Walk it over.
You be the max. I'll be the rat. You be the max.
I'll be the rat.
I'll be the rat. You be the max. I'll be the.
Wanna play a game?
I'll be the max.
Play games with me? Ain't got no time for games.
I'll be the rat.
You wanna be the max?
You're
You wanna be
seeing
the max? I'll got a game to play? We got time for games. Let's play the game. Hey, Rat, I got a new hat.
My God.
It's called Dummy Space. Dummy time. Dummy time.
Up.
You can't go this way. I'm sorry. It's blocked off.
You blocking off now?
It's Ivan.
Let me take that. You push. Okay, I got
You
it.
pull.
I got it.
I'll push.
I got it.
You push.
You got
I'll pull. You got it. We got it.
Okay, let's go.
You got it.
Okay.
I got it.
You got it.
You got it.
You got it.
I'll push.
I got it.
You pull.
You got it.
I got it.
All right, let's go. Let's go. You got it.
You got it.
Let's go. Let's go.
I got it.
Let's get back up inside. That's right. That's
I
right.
got it.
Okay, yeah, you got it. You got it. You got it. I got it. You got it.
I got it.
Okay. All right. All righty.
Okay, you got it.
You got it.
I got it.
Okay. Where we going with this one, right?
I don't know.
I got an idea. You be the Max.
I'll be the rat.
You be the rat. Okay, you be the rat. Let me see what we got up inside here.
This looks dangerous. You're gonna need some help. You're gonna need some extra help. You're gonna need some extra help.
All right. Okay, that's good. Now that's good.
You're gonna need some extra help.
Get myself right up on here.
You're gonna need a.
Yeah, I got it. Hey, Max, I'm lying there. Max, there ain't no lying there.
You're gonna need some extra help from a professional.
I mean, like, hey,
I'm a professional.
you're a professional rat. That's right. You're a professional rat.
Professional.
Professor rat. You is a
I think you're
professor
lying.
rat.
I think you're lying to that.
Professor Rat.
I think you're very lying.
You think I'm lighting up? You think I'm lighter than
You're a
air?
balloon.
You think I'm lighter than air? I was lighter.
You're a lighter than a balloon.
I was lighter than air.
You're a lighter than a balloon.
Hey, look at that, rat. Look at that. Look at me flying. Flying.
Flying.
I'm a flying rat. I'm a flying rat. That's right.
Let's just see. Let's just test it. Let's just test it out.
Let's try it. Come on, rat. Try it. Come on, rat. Let's break the game. Break the game, rat. Let's break the game. Play the game, rat. Play the game. Let me see if I can. Let me see if we get my.
Got it.
My max
You
is
got
going
it.
right out.
You got it.
My max
I
is
got
going.
it. Don't
That's
worry.
right.
I
That's
got
right.
it.
Let's
Don't
play the
worry.
game.
I
Play the
got
game.
it.
Let's break the
I
game.
got it. Don't worry. I got it.
I'm gonna be this is.
I got it.
I'm
Don't worry.
gonna be the rat. I'll be the rat. I'll be the rat.
Oh, great.
I'll be the rat.
You'll be the max.
You be the rat.
I got the max.
I'll be the rat.
I got the max.
You hold the max. Hold that max. Hey Max, hold that. Max, you got it?
I
Hold
got it.
Hold it still,
I
Max.
got it.
Hold it still. Holding it still there, Max.
Does it work?
That's right. Now that's right. You see?
Does it work?
Oh, we need
Don't
it.
worry. I'm a
It's a little bit.
professional, and I'm not just saying that for the camera. I'm not just saying that for the camera. I'm a
That's
professional.
what it is. There you go. You're a rat-testional.
I'm a professional.
You is a rat-national. That's right.
You need a hand.
You need a max.
You need a hand.
You need a max.
Just ask me. You need a hand. You need a hand.
That's right. Now that's good. Now
You
that's
need a
good.
hand. Just ask me.
Let's do that. Let's do that. Right. That's good.
You need a hand. Just ask me.
That's right. Now it's working. Now it's balanced right.
You need a hand. Just ask me.
That's good. That's good. Let's try and get it up on here. Let's see how we're getting on here.
We get a wind side. We can blow.
Let's break the game.
Blow it out.
Huh? Look, breaking that game.
Look at that. He's
Breaking
holding.
the game.
He's holding. You know the wind is blowing.
It's
Hold
the
it.
wind is blowing in my hair. The wind is blowing in my face.
Oh, that's so great, Max.
Ain't nothing
So great.
eyes blowing in the wind. Ain't nothing blowing in the wind like that.
Wow. It's certainly windy in here.
It's windy.
It's windy.
It's windy time. Windy time. You want to go to space?
Space,
I
yeah.
want to try traveling through space time.
Okay.
Let's go to space.
Okay. I
wagon wheels.
Hey, what is this building? What's Ivan doing?
Don't pay attention. Just pretend Ivan ain't there. Nothing. Ivan ain't doing nothing.
I see him.
Nothing. No, Ivan ain't there.
I see her.
Taking it
Ivan ain't there.
at a time.
Nowhere.
There.
Nowhere.
Island
She's
at
using
a
the
time.
ladder.
One round at a
Let
time.
me see if I can.
That's good.
Come on, Ivan.
That's
on, Ivan.
really good.
Let's get hold of
You're
it.
doing really good.
Give
Squeeze
my
a
little
little
hand.
more out.
Give me a real big hand.
Get up.
Come on, Ivan. I'm just gonna pick you up right there, like that, just like that. That's right. You see, we're gonna. You got a hold of Ivan right there.
Magic Ivan.
Come on, Ivan.
Always moving, but always in the same spot.
Perfect. Always still.
Magic
Never
Ivan.
moving nowhere.
Magic Ivan.
I
Magic
land
Ivan. Always moving.
you
Always in the same
land there.
spot.
It looks out of control, but
Always
actually
moving.
we're in
Always in the
complete
same
control
spot.
here.
Magic Ivan.
Let's have a
Right there.
conversation
Always
about
moving.
honesty
Always in the same spot.
and agency.
You alright, Ivan? What are you doing now, Ivan? You upside down?
Ivan,
Oh, look at spinning on your little rat finger. Spinning on your rat finger. Hey, Ivan. You ain't got nothing to say now, right? You want to talk to me?
Oh! This wall's bigger than me.
The forest is bigger than
Bully
you.
me.
You be the max.
I'm really wrong.
You be the max.
Oh, hey, Ivan. Let's get this done, eh? Let's get this done.
Oh, yeah, I
you feel
Let's get this done. I'm getting it
that's
done.
just an illusion.
You getting it done?
I'm getting it
You
done.
getting it done?
You're
I'm getting it
You
done.
get it done. I'll be the rat.
I'll be the Max.
I'll be the rat.
You'll be the Ivan. Ivan be the Ivan.
You getting it done? Hey, you getting it
I'll be
done?
the rat.
You was getting it
You'll
done.
be the Max.
Play the game.
To the Max.
Play the
I'm
game.
just waiting for these things.
Play these things. Come on, rat.
And down. And
Don't slip off. Okay. It's okay.
well, if you go up and then bong and then out.
Ivan, can you see? Can you see, Ivan? Ivan, can you see? Ivan, I can't see. Get out of the
And
screen.
then up. And then down. Maybe
Ivan.
Ivan can never go with Ivan.
Ivan's eyes upon us.
Ivan.
Ivan's eyes upon us.
Ivan.
Yeah, that's right. Let me take over. Let me
Ivan,
take over.
Ivan.
I know how to play this game. I can do
Ivan,
this.
Ivan,
I can do this.
Ivan,
I
Ivan,
can do this level. My eyes can do this level.
Ivan.
My eyes can do this level.
Get up and
Ivan, Ivan, up.
Up and Ivan. Up and Ivan.
Up and Ivan.
Up and Ivan. Come on, Ivan.
Up and Ivan.
You ain't moving fast enough. Move your cuboid head around, Ivan. Move your cuboid. Move it, Ivan. Move it, Ivan.
I'm spinning and
You need a
I'm
bit of
rolling.
encouragement.
I'm spinning and
You
I'm
need a bit
rolling.
of encouragement.
I'm spinning and I'm rolling.
Come on, Ivan.
We gotta get it
Come
done.
on, Ivan. Spin it up.
We gotta get it done.
Come on.
I'm rolling. I'm rolling.
that's good.
Oh, there's Quacky.
Good.
Hey, Quacky.
Don't talk to the
Hey,
quack.
Quacky.
Don't talk to the quack. The quack ain't listening. Time's up, Ivan. Come on, get moving.
Nearly there.
Time's up,
Gotta
Ivan.
go up.
Doing
She's
really
gotta go up. She's gotta go up.
another level.
You want to play the next level? I want to take it up to the next level. I want to get out of here, Ivan.
I need a luck boost.
Let's take it up to the. You want to play a luck boosting seminar?
To go up a level, I need a luck boost.
You want a next level?
Next level.
Next level boost.
Ivan's playing. Ivan's doing really well.
Ivan, get your eyes off the screen.
But he can do it going up a
Get your
level.
eyes off the screen, Ivan.
Give out. Radiate. Give.
Don't look at that. Don't look at that. Don't look at it. Don't look at that. Ivan, no. Ivan, stop it, Ivan. You're going to finish that level. Come on, Ivan. Come on. You can do it, Ivan. I knows you can do it. Eyes knows you can do it. Eyes knows you got a mouth for this.
1, 2, 3.
Come on, Ivan. Come on, Ivan. Hit it. Hit it, Ivan. Play the game, Ivan.
Play the game.
Play the game. Play it again. Now do it again. There you
Do it
go.
again.
There you go. You see? I said you could do it. I said you could do it. Max knows. Max knows. Max knows. Max knows. Max knows what I'm doing. Max knows what I do. Max knows. Yeah, knows. Oz knows. Max always knows. I got all the time in the world. I ain't got no time for that. Let's play the game. Play the game. Want to play the game, man?
Find another way. Find another way. Find another way.
on, man. Come on, man. Set it up, man. Let's see what we got. Good time. We got some time. Hey, Max. Want to play a little game, Max?
I'll be the Poe.
Pish posh, applesauce, push it
You're
on
the
the
iron.
tongue wash.
I'll be the Poe.
Yeah.
Wing up.
Now we can see.
Wing down.
Oh my God, we're all
Wing
here.
up.
You've been here all along. You're free to roam.
Wing up. A wing up. A wing up.
See, look, now I'm a good rat. I'm a patient rat.
Hey, I got a great idea. You stand here.
Now,
You're
Ivan,
reach up
look.
here.
I put
Oh,
you
yeah?
here.
I can stand up on that. I can stand up on that.
Only kidding.
Oh,
I'll get you out if you promise to leave
Hold the
a visit.
ladder.
Don't worry.
Hold that ladder. Make sure you hold it right, rat.
Don't worry. I'll hold the ladder, okay? Don't worry. I'll hold the ladder.
Roll up. Well, you're on a sticky wicket, you cheeky little pup.
Don't worry. I'll hold the ladder.
Okay, that's right.
Don't worry. I got you.
You're one hand on that.
Don't worry.
I'm one hand on that ladder.
Don't worry. I got you. I'm putting the ladder. Don't worry.
Ask
Don't
anyone
worry.
else.
I got you.
Clear.
Don't worry.
Don't put this up.
Don't worry. I got you.
You got it? You got it?
Don't worry. I
Keep
got
me
you.
safe right there,
Don't
right, rat?
worry. I got you.
Don't put that ladder. You got that ladder on the ladder. Don't forget it. Don't forget about it. You got it? I got it. What's the matter, rat? I ain't standing on no hands.
Is your
What's that?
picture?
I ain't standing on no hands.
I'm
Listen, rat, how about you come I ain't on your hand. Listen, rat, why don't you come I can reach now, rat. I got it. You want what's the matter? Well, rat is holding the ladder. Take your hands out, rat. Take your hands out. Take your hands out, rat. Don't forget about me. I'll be the rat. I'll be the max. You be the ladder. I'll be the rat.
I'm not just saying that for the camera.
I'm just saying
that for the
for
camera.
the camera. For
I'm
the
not just
camera.
saying that for the camera.
I said
You need a hand.
Oh,
Just
the
ask me.
camera.
If you need a hand, just ask me. I'm not just saying that for the camera.
I'm the
I'm
rat.
not just saying that for the camera.
I'm the rat. And I'm saying that just for the camera. Ain't that right?
Don't worry.
You gonna hold that for me?
Don't worry.
Give me a hand. Give me a real big hand.
Look, look at this. Don't worry.
That's good.
Hey,
Now,
you finish that. I'll get over here. Don't
now I can reach. Now I can reach. Good problem.
asking in the
I
midst
got
of
it,
my
I got
bones.
it.
Ivan, don't you worry. I'll
That's
get you
good.
out.
Don't worry about this
things.
bit.
Now that's good. Now
Don't
do that
worry about
again.
this bit.
That's
Don't,
good.
don't worry about this bit. You
I got
keep
that.
going.
I got that.
You keep going.
Okay. Now I gotta get right up here.
Don't worry.
I gotta get right up here.
Don't worry. You
This
keep
little
going.
bit right here.
You keep going.
Just
Don't
out of
worry.
reach. This little bit just out of reach.
Don't worry. Don't worry. I'm putting the light.
Ain't that right?
Don't worry.
Hey, what are you doing?
I'm helping you.
it. Good. Good. I got it covered.
I'll put the thing up here. Don't worry.
I got it covered.
I'll put it in the bucket. Don't worry.
I'll be the rat. I'll be the rat.
I got it.
I'll be the rat. You be the rat.
Don't worry. I've got the rat. I got it. Don't
You rat.
worry. I got it.
You're right, rat.
Don't worry. I got it.
You so clean
Don't worry. I got it.
and get
You got it covered.
I got it covered. Don't worry. I'm putting the ladder. Don't worry. I'm putting the ladder.
Don't forget about
I
me.
got it.
That's right. You got that right.
This needs a little bit more.
I think you got it covered.
This needs a little bit more.
You got it covered.
This needs a little bit more.
That's right.
This needs a little bit more.
That's good.
It just needs a little bit more. That's right. Don't worry.
fish wash.
I got it.
Sauce,
Don't worry.
the tunnel wash.
Oh, what happened there? Oh, hey, Ivan. Hey, Ivan. Hey, Ivan. I got it. I've got it.
Got it?
Don't worry, I've got it.
You got it covered.
I've got it covered.
You got it all
I
covered.
got everything.
You got everything covered right over.
Everything's covered. Don't worry.
I'm going to finish this battle.
We got it.
I was going to finish this
You
battle.
got it, Maxie.
I was going to finish this battle. Right up. Oh my. Paint covered thing. I was going to finish this battle right now. That's right. Here we go. There we go. You see what I'm doing. Come on, Ivan. Come on, Ivan. Come on, Ivan. Okay.
Get the apple.
Yep.
It really looks like an apple.
That's because you did a great paint job, Rat. You did a great paint
It
job.
really looks like an apple. When you
Great.
look up close, it really looks like an
It's
apple.
a good paint job you did
It
there.
really looks like an apple.
That is clean and tidy. Tidy. Let's tidy up. Hey, is it tidy time?
Tidy up. We got to tidy up. Tidy up.
Hey, we're gonna tidy up Max. Hey, maybe I'm going to be Max Green for a little while. How about that?
Max New.
Max Green. I think I'm going to be Max Green from now on.
Ready gold. I like it.
Red
Ready
gold. Red gold. is the
Oh,
rule.
ready gold. Red.
Golden red.
Golden red. Golden
So
red.
Max.
Golden red.
Max Green. Red gold. That's what we got.
Red gold.
How do you catch a rat? Come on.
Red gold.
Up you go, Ivan. Come on, up.
Golden red.
We're going up. This is right. This is where you go up.
Oh, yeah, a
This
little
is where
bit
you go.
left. A little bit
You gotta
right.
go up right here. Am I in the right? Ivan, get up, Ivan. Get up, Ivan.
Oh,
Get on up, Ivan.
there's a floating apple.
I think we're almost there. Almost there. Come on, Ivan. Come on, Ivan.
Oh, there's the little door.
Oh yeah, you see.
High five.
Leave it in the hands of Max, and you can
Teamwork.
do anything.
Teamwork.
You can do anything in the hands of Max. In the hands of Max, you got that right.
You got that right.
You got that
You
right.
got that right.
You got that right.
You got that right.
Ain't nothing like getting it right. Get it right.
Right.
Good.
Right.
And good. Can't
Right. Right. Get up. Get up.
get on up. Ain't nothing like a hand sign. You gotta get that right.
Time to get on up.
Get up.
Get on up.
Get up.
Get on up.
Now, you gotta get that right. You got that right?
You keep going. I've got your back, Max.
Ain't no stop.
Max, I've got your back.
Max don't stop.
Max, I've got your back.
Max don't stop.
Max, I've got your back.
Don't forget about me.
I got your back, Max.
Eyes busy.
I got your back.
Eyes busy.
I got your back.
Eyes busy. Mouth can't see. No mouth can see. No mouth can see. Ain't got no busy mouth. No mouth can see.
Hey, Max,
Eyes,
I got your back.
eyes busy.
I'm putting the ladder. Don't worry.
Eyes get busy.
Putting the ladder. Don't worry.
Eyes get busy.
I'm putting the ladder. Don't worry. I got it.
We still playing the game. We playing the game.
shell of
Never did none of this, no, never time. Let me see if I can work my way out.
You let me know if you need a hand. You let me know if you need a hand, Max.
Give me a hand.
I'm gonna give you a hand.
Give me a hand. Hold my hand.
Don't worry.
Don't let me fall.
Don't worry.
Don't fall. Don't let me
Give me a
fall.
hand. Don't worry.
Okay, I ain't gonna worry that now.
came
You need a
be
hand. Don't worry. I'm putting the ladder.
Put that
shell.
Don't worry. I'm putting the ladder.
Put that side.
Don't worry. I've got it.
Got it?
I've got it.
Got it?
I've got it.
You got it?
I've got it.
Hey, Max. Max.
Don't worry.
Don't let go of me, Max.
I'm putting the ladder. Don't worry.
And this is Max.
I've got it.
Got it?
I've got it.
Got me.
Don't worry.
You got me, Max.
Don't worry.
Okay. All right. That's balloon number 1. Okay. All right.
I
Now,
got it.
balloon number 2.
Don't worry.
Come out.
Don't worry. I got it. I got it. Don't worry. I got it. I'm putting the ladder. Don't worry. I'll be Max. Don't worry.
I'm the man.
I got
I'm
it.
the man. Hey, I'm the man. I'm the man. I'm Max.
I'm Max Gold. One of the gold ones. I'm Max Gold. One of the gold ones. I'm Max Gold. One of the gold ones.
Hey, Danny.
I'm Max Gold.
You
One
want
of
to
the
stand like
gold.
the rat right there?
I'm the green rat. I'm the gold rat.
You can be rat gold.
I'm the green
Rat gold.
I'm the gold.
I
Hey, Maxie,
Right.
could you hold this for me?
I'm gonna hold that.
Hey.
You hold
You
that.
gonna hold something.
You gotta hold.
I'm gonna hold this for
Did
you.
you need some balloons?
I need a bit of extra lightweight. I need a bit of light. Hey, Rat, you got a light?
You need a hand?
Rat, you got a
You
light?
need a hand?
Yeah,
Help?
I need a hand.
Do you need a helping hand?
I need a hand.
You need a hand? Let's tie these to that and see what happens.
Okay, let's go. Let's see what we got. Let's see what how we got.
It's a little bit on the heavy side.
It's too heavy. Too heavy. Too heavy, Max. Ain't no time like
tinked dumbs to our
Oh,
king
we had a really
this
sharp big knife.
toe.
Oh, cut this bit.
Let me try this. Let me try this. How about that?
That worked. We had it. So it's only-
I think I can snap that.
Well, you did pretty well there, Max. It's almost like you had a big sharp knife.
I got a magic finger. That's what I got. Magic finger.
Cube round of 5. This the one and
Got a lot to do.
That's right.
A lot to do.
I love Twisted Cinema.
A lot to do.
You got a lot to learn.
Yeah, a lot to learn.
You got a lot to learn. You got a lot of luck. You pushing your luck. Pushing your luck. You is pushing your luck. I don't think we're gonna reach. I don't think we're gonna reach right up there, right?
Don't worry.
I think you got a bit of a problem right up there, Rat Scout. I think you got a problem up there, Rat Scout. You ain't gonna reach. You think you're gonna reach?
2
Get out
5
of here.
2
I think you got a bit of a shaky situation.
We got it. Don't worry.
Right up on there.
We got it. They're going.
I think you got it. I think you got it. I think you got it. You got
Go
it.
to the room. You'll be able to get out.
You got it, right?
Don't worry.
You got that right.
Get up there.
You got that right. Yeah, that's right, right? You got
That's
that
right. We got it.
You got it?
That's right.
You got that
We
right.
got it.
You got that right, right?
Don't worry.
I think you got that.
We got it. Don't
You
worry.
got it? Hey, Max. Max, you got that?
Max Green, I got it.
Hey, Rat Gold. We up there, right?
Gold.
We is up there,
We're
right?
on there.
Ain't that right?
We get it out.
We is up there right now, right?
Get it out.
We getting out of here.
Get it out.
Ain't got no time for this.
Get it
I
out.
just gotta get out of here.
Get it out.
And now I got my hands stuck.
Ian
Hey, let me give you a hand with that.
2 men
That's good.
down
Now that's good.
that
Try that again.
Now do this.
oh in
Now you
or
hold
show.
on and I'll get on top this time.
Yeah, you get on top. And we get up, we gotta get up out of here.
We gotta get out of here. We gotta get out of here.
You got space?
You hold on
You got
here,
space for me too?
and I'll pull this thing.
Yeah?
Ready?
We're gonna get out of here, right? Ain't that right?
We're going.
Going up?
We're going up.
We're going up.
We're going up. We're going
Okay,
up.
okay, that's working. You gotta hold on. You gotta hold on to it. You gotta hold on to it.
Hurry.
Hold on to
We got
it.
it.
Hold on to
We
me.
got it.
You hold on to
I'm
me.
holding on.
Let's go.
I'm holding on.
Hey, we're flying, Max.
Right there.
Hey, Max Green, we're flying.
We're
We're flying
going.
out of here, Max.
We're going.
Let's get out of here, Max.
Hey, you jump off. You jumped off. Have you gone?
And straight, forward, anti, beam, cross, nose, core, wires, clock, the.
Red, you wanna give me a hand?
Are we doing our way out?
I think let's get out of here. Let's finish this.
When I say jump, you say.
How high?
I say jump, you say.
How high?
I say how high, you say.
Rat.
I say rat, you say.
Scout. I'll be the rat.
I'll say golden, you say.
Let's play the game. Let's play the game. Hey, rat, you wanna come round to the home and play the game? You wanna come round to the home and play the game?
Round the hole.
That's right. Come on.
Round the
Two.
hole.
Come on,
Five.
Ivan.
Over the gold one.
Home
And
for the gold one.
Over the gold
Shell.
one.
Play the game, Rat. Play the game.
The
Play the game. Come on, Ivan.
Scent.
I'm Ivan Poe. I don't say much. Well, I don't say anything.
You don't say nothing.
Don't say nothing.
Shut your mouth, Ivan. We don't want to hear from you.
Don't look at that.
Don't look at that. Don't
watch
speak.
that.
Don't say a word.
Don't smell that.
Don't smell nothing.
Hey, it's Challenger.
Hey, Ivan. Eyes knows.
It's fully edible.
Eyes knows what games you was playing. Eyes knows the games you was playing.
Well, it's great that we got out of there. I want to be stuck in there.
Hey, when's breakfast time?
Breakfast time.
Home to the gold ones. That's right, yeah.
Where's the exit?
Come on, Ivan. That's right.
What's that, Challenger? Those cylinders look like breakfast? Oh, great.
That's your breakfast. That's your breakfast. You want a challenge? Breakfast time. Okay, Max is gonna get us out of here.
Oh, great. Is that the exit?
Max is gonna get us out of
I've
here.
seen the exit.
We's almost there.
Get
We's
out
almost there.
that way.
Oh,
Quick,
Max is gonna get us out of here.
Shell
Ha!
is
Okay.
This
Okie dokie.
Oh.
Okay.
All right. All right. What's happened? Who's that?
I think I broke the game. I broke the game,
You're
Max.
so
broke
good
the
you
game.
broke the game.
I broke the game, Max.
So good you broke the game.
Ivan, should we break Ivan?
Break Ivan.
Let's break Ivan.
Let's break Ivan out of here.
Ivan, break it open.
Let's break Ivan in here.
Break
Yeah,
it
yeah.
open.
Find the doorway. Find the exit.
Open that door.
Find the doorway.
Open that door.
Open
Ivan,
the
come
door.
on, Ivan.
Come on, Ivan. Open the door.
Open the door. Open that door.
In the door. Out the door.
Not yet. No.
Hi everyone. Welcome back. Thank you, Reactor, for that. I think you're still taking your seats. We'll now move on to the group discussion element of the evening, and I'm just going to pick up by just rolling sort of bio statements from our contributors for the evening. So, if I could just, when I refer to your names, if you could just give a little wave so our viewers know who I'm referring to, that would be really, really great. So I'll kick off with Reactor. So Reactor is an art collective that was founded in the early 2000s in Nottingham and comprises of Susie Henderson, Nikki Russell, and an undisclosed number of secret members. Reactor have shown their work nationally and internationally, including Kunstraum in London, Quad Derby, Gallery North in Newcastle, Zero Klein and Coma in London, Flux Factory New York, and the KW Institute in Berlin. And to quote their website, we ring up our mates and say, let's get together on Saturday night and have some fun. No one has any fun. And the next day we get together with another bunch of mates and have some right fun about the fact that no one had any fun. Bruce, Asbestos, who's not currently on screen. He's a long-term collaborator with Reactor, working with, for and against Reactor since the early 2000s. Currently, this collaboration takes various guises. He performs as the Rat Scout in the Gold Ones and is a collaborator producing the Ivan Poe video game. Bruce is not a member of Reactor, nor a secret member of Reactor, and certainly not a secret member pretending not to be a member of Reactor. Jez Noond is an artist and teaches games design at a secret facility somewhere in South London. His main role is to remind students that their project work can be classed as finished only after they've stared at a screen long enough for their eyes to bleed. Jez has been staring at Ivan for 2 years. Jamie Sutcliffe is a writer, curator, and co-director of Strange Attractor Press. He is the editor of Documents of Contemporary Art, Magic, forthcoming from Whitechapel Gallery and the MIT Press, and is currently developing an exhibition project on the clandestine politics of Hideo Kojima's video game franchise Metal Gear Solid, the Southwark Art Galleries, which is opening in September 2021. Mark Jackson is a curator mainly at IMT Gallery in London. He is one half of Blue Mountain Arcturus with the artist Alan Hughes, which makes work that manipulates the mechanics and lore of tabletop games. In 2019, they curated the Polymorph Other at Queen's Hall Art Centre, 2019 Northumberland, which included an early beta version of Reactor's Ivan Poe video game. Mark's curatorial interest in works that engage with video games stretch back over 10 years to 2010's Silencer at Payne Cherval and include 2018's Chop Leisure and 2011's In Arcadia, both at IMT, and 2017's Feeling Safer, Bugging Out at Temporary Storage in New York. Mark's most recent project was as the curator of IMT's 5-month online streaming exhibition, This Is Not Me, in 2020. And he's currently writing a book about IMT as a curatorial practice that will be published by Routledge. Kitty Clark is an artist based in London, informed by research interests in role-playing, world-building and science fiction. Her practice spans installation, sculpture and digital media. Kitty has been creating video games as part of the artist collective Famicom since 2004. Recent exhibitions include Ghosts and Apparitions at Sheffield Dock Fest, solo presentations at Gerard Arts London, and a BBC Arts New Creators Commission with the ICA. And it's also nice to welcome Kitty back as she exhibited in our Mould Map 6 Terraformers exhibition in 2016 that was curated by Hugh Frost and Leomi Sadler, who co-edited the Mould Map publication series. So welcome back, Kitty. So that's the bios, and I am not going to be chairing tonight's a sort of shared discussion really between all of the panel, and actually also just to say a reminder too that if anyone does have a question, please drop it into the YouTube chat, and I'll sort of feed those in. So welcome Susie and Bruce, just joining Nikki. So just to sort of prompt and sort of kick off the discussion, I think the performance just now obviously blends together the sort of physical space with the sort of gaming space really successfully. But I thought maybe Nikki, Susie, you could just talk a little bit more the connection between the sort of video game and the exhibition spaces and the sort of contrasting platforms and environments that those different works and projects inhabit.
Okay, can you hear us okay? Yeah. As you mentioned at the beginning of the event, the gold ones have been in existence for several years, and Ivan Poe is one of the gold ones. So the gold ones project exists as a kind of excavation of different characters that exist within this kind of universe. So not all the characters were present at the beginning. We found Ivan Poe in around 2017, and from the kind of outset, Ivan Poe was expected to be multiple. So it was always present in the character that it didn't take one single form. So there's a plushy Ivan, there's a concrete Ivan. We made a large kind of Ivan in the streets in Plymouth that was made out of scaffolding and scaffold mesh. And in that project, we wanted to put inside Ivan's head a screen that represented what Ivan saw. And we were interested in doing that in an animation form. And we met up for a coffee with Jez in Nottingham, and we talked about this idea. And he suggested, have you ever thought about rather than making an animation, have you ever thought about making a computer game and then producing the animation by playing the game? And as soon as Jez said that, it immediately kind of clicked with us as this kind of idea of play being a thread that runs throughout kind of Reactor's work. We'd never made a computer game, never thought about it really. So we made a computer game in order to produce an animation for that project. And then what we realized whilst we were in Plymouth around this work was that the work wasn't very good, but the idea of the computer game. And that perhaps we should have not bothered making this large scaffolding structure on the streets of Plymouth, and we should have put more time into making a game actually kind of playable by people. So after we made that work, we followed up in a conversation with Jez and with Bruce around kind of whether we were all interested in kind of pushing that further to actually produce something that would be freely available online as a kind of playable version of the existence of this character. And I guess we were kind of interested in what the kind of digital space would allow to happen that cannot happen in the physical world of the project. So the gold ones are framed as existing within this cosmic care home. So it's all about this kind of cosmic realm, and yet the actual reality of the project is that you're falling around in kind of polystyrene kind of apples. It's really down to earth, grounded nature to it. So I guess the game offers up potential for something that is slightly more cosmic or kind of removed from the kind of the material quality of the kind of world that surrounds us.
Yeah.
Back and forth.
Sure. Yeah.
I'd like to ask something about that, if that's all right. Just that kind of there's different frames, the material world and the cosmic world, or the video game world, the virtual space. Just because obviously you're streaming this, so it's slightly different, isn't it? There's that extra bit of performance. What are we watching essentially? Are we watching the game being played? Are we watching the players playing the game? And it's not clear that the players are actually Max Gold and the Rat until a bit later. And I quite liked that, the not knowing how the layers work from the audience through to the game, through to the characters. And there's a video game, Madden, John Madden's NFL series. There's a Madden 19 has this bit in the story where the characters who are avatar video game characters are watching television, But on television, there's they're watching Good Morning Football with Peter Schrager, and there's an actual video of a guy. So the real guy, the physical meat guy, is in the video being watched by the avatar people. Yeah. That's a really weird moment. And so there was a bit of, it reminded me a bit of that watching this, and kind of which layer are we watching above the other layer, particularly when you start to paint in the game into the studio.
Yeah, I guess the exciting thing about using a game level is it's sort of like a weird type of improvisation that you provide the player with certain boundaries in which they go outside and they die and have to restart the level, but that it's got that kind of fluid nature to it that like maybe an improvisation has. So it's kind of nice that you don't necessarily have absolute control over the game. Well, maybe very experienced players might, but it's kind of that brings in it relates to the way that the performance is structured as well. It's nice stuff.
I think there was a moment in the performance where I heard someone saying, "Let's break the game," and that to me was very enjoyable, because I think that's like a particular strategy that sometimes I enjoy going into a game, sort of purposefully trying to find what those boundaries are, and that was quite nice to see that being a sort of built-in part of the experience of performing and playing the game.
Yeah, that is like one of my favorite games of all time, Grand Theft Auto 5. Played offline, by the way. I prioritize playing it offline rather than online. The reason I like it is because precisely that, you can break your game. You can go to what you call the edges, the peripheries, and it's like there's that thing where like you described it as like you can die and and discover how do you don't want to like you discover all these kind of crazy things, like can you swim in this area, or will you get eaten by a shark every time you're there? Yeah. Where are the sharks that will eat you?
I was thinking just earlier on about how many Reactor performances I seem to have stumbled into or chanced upon, and how there's a certain kind of visceral tone of antagonism that seems to kind of predominate. I was once on a coach from Nottingham to Lincolnshire, and Reactor hijacked the coach and made everyone sit in silence and listen to I think a 45-minute rave cassette. And in the past, I've always understood those encounters as antagonisms that were sort of subjecting me to a certain experience. I never really understood them as provocations to play. And so I kind of wonder how the agency of the player in this project kind of works in line with your kind of antagonistic nature as a collective.
Wow. That, by the way, that whole thing that you described, that was nothing to do with us.
Who was it? It was titled as a Reactor piece.
Agency is a central part of Reactor's work. One's ability to conduct oneself according to circumstance is, really important. How do you want to take that?
And I guess it also relates to that kind of the layering that Mark was talking about, in terms of what is it that is going on and what is it that you're supposed to do or take from that, in terms of what are the kind of limits of what is expected of you, or what is kind of allowed within that situation. So I think there is a heavy kind of element, Kitty was picking up on that phrase of kind of breaking the game. Yeah. I think that carries through from this kind of idea of kind of breaking the performance or breaking the audience, even kind of these ideas of kind of breaking down of kind of the way that something is structured to work initially, and that it kind of finds a new form in itself. And from the perspective of an individual, it's that kind of agency to take on a different version of yourself, or perform a different version of yourself, which obviously has kind of connections to kind of avatars within within kind of computer games. So the idea of an avatar or a kind of virtual entity of oneself has been a kind of recurrent theme within Reactor performances anyway, without them necessarily having that much to do with computer games. But this idea of this kind of other version of yourself that is kind of beamed into your kind of body, and you behave in a different way because the circumstances allow you to behave in that kind of different way.
Can I ask on that, from that, thinking about breaking the game, thinking about the audience and making them uncomfortable, or reimagining the characters, reimagining your characters, reimagining the characters in the game, and the breaking the game thing a lot of the time comes down to kind of falling off the edge of the world, or I think it was True Crime Streets of New York, which is kind of a Grand Theft Auto version, where the camera would go into the mouth of the person as he was going through the door, because it didn't quite work very well. And you'd see the inside of his skull. And in the game, in most games, obviously the camera's pretending not to be there. It's trying to reduce that distance between the player and the world that you're playing. But in your performance, particularly towards the end, you kept mentioning the camera. You kept going, addressing the camera, manipulating the camera, and that seemed to be. Is that similarly kind of trying to remake the audience in a way? Because the camera is the audience, isn't it? In the same way as you're remaking these characters in the game.
There are a couple of things that are interesting about the use of cameras in the game. In that there is a camera that tracks Ivan. Okay, so if you know when Rat was spinning Ivan on the finger there, that's because Ivan in that tracking camera remains exactly at the center of the screen for that view. But all of the levels use cutaway cameras. So there's inherent within any of the levels, there is the perception that there are other viewpoints apart from Ivan's within that world as well. And that's something that when I saw the game that Reactor used in a performance again at the Bonington, I can't remember what year that was now. It was like a really long performance, and you had big comfy chairs in there that you could go and watch the projection. There was a point where the game was on a screen within that environment, and I really enjoyed the cutaway cameras and the cutaway cameras within the live action. And I guess it's coming back to that layering thing again. That's something that I think we discussed a lot about, using cutaway cameras to just move out of Ivan's third person kind of view. I thought it worked really well when you saw Quack appearing in the top, whatever it was, top left hand, that's obviously right, top left hand part of the screen, particularly when Rat and Max were almost the same sort of scale as how Quack appeared on the screen. That did give a strange sort of distancing. What layer are we in here? And I mean, and I've not seen any of that was performed this evening. I think I made about 400 screenshots as we were going through. It's just force of habit. I tend to press it every time I see something that looks nice. So there was a lot of really interesting stuff, I think, really cool.
Yeah, and I guess it is that thing that was the very first time in that kind of performance that I really thought about the fact that Ivan is always in the same place. So I really liked kind of Rat Scout's phrase. I can't remember exactly what it was, but Ivan's always moving, but he's always in the same place. So kind of drawing attention to the kind of the illusion of the kind of game, i.e. that this cuboid is never moving anywhere. It's the kind of around it also has a kind of nice relation to to the kind of there's a kind of underlying thread within the work, not only within Ivan Poe but also within the Gold Ones, as to whether the entire project is in each of the characters' heads. So which ones are actually real? So is the entire world of the Gold Ones just in a kind of a fantasy within kind of Ivan's head, which is why within the game you often go inside other versions of Ivan. So there's this kind of like doorway you can kind of go into. So there's this like continual referencing this fact of whose perspective are you looking from, and is this thing kind of real, which I guess kind of relates to this whole idea of them as kind of supernatural beings that clearly don't have any supernatural powers. So, like powers, or is it that they never had them in the kind of first place?
Well, that's absolutely right. Now, the end of the game, which you won't see, you won't have seen, it does exist, but we're sworn to secrecy.
Yeah, don't.
No, I'm not. But all you can say is that the idea of cameras and what you've just said about not having any supernatural powers, for me at least anyway, having heard you say that, becomes all the more exaggerated and if I can use that word, profound actually, right at the end of the game, knowing how the game ends and what that particular part looks like. It's a tremendous reveal, I think.
Yeah.
Denouement.
We will not reveal, but yeah, tremendous factamondo. Yeah.
There's one level where it's just a series of Ivan-shaped heads that Ivan rolls across and goes through through his own eye. The first Ivan Poe, the animation one, I think he does end up inside of his own head, right? And then it loops. The animation loops again.
Yeah, the one where
right? Yeah.
It starts with him, and then he ends in his head, and it goes round and round. It's an infinite loop of Ivan,
of Ivans.
Yeah. But it would never. I mean, there's that thing, isn't there, about like there's that loop, isn't there? Because the game only came around because we needed to solve a problem about how to bring Ivan into an animated form, and and then we're saying, well, do it like this, and then you get then your player gets agency, and then more character through that player's agency, rather than a big plot.
I've got a question just about I guess the experience of play that you have kind of cultivated with the game, and playing through some of the beta levels, I was reminded of a number of different video game franchises, from Katamari Damacy, which is the Japanese video game where you roll this sticky ball around and collect, multiple items of furniture and detritus, through to sort of Tony Hawk. But the game that I was really thinking about as I was playing through some of the betas was Getting Over It with Bennett Foddy. I don't know if either of you have come across that. It's a sort of notoriously difficult game where you play a naked man trapped in a cauldron, and you only have a hammer to try and assist you in your quest to get to the top of a and the game is built around a mechanism of failure. Sorry, Susie.
Sorry, I interrupted you. I know that game. Yes, I know that game.
Yeah, and you're destined to fail, but the game itself becomes a kind of meditation on failure and the sort of beauty of persistence. And I was just thinking about that, games currently are kind of characterized by this ethos of like being tough but fair. So the more kind of punished you are, the more kind of soberly you can sort of address your failures, the more kind of resolute and kind of empowered you become as a player. So I wondered, both for Reactor and for Jez, what the kind of nature of the difficulty you experience as a player is, and what that's trying to do.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I think we've had long conversations with Jez around how playable a game is, because you can make a game incredibly difficult very, very easily, or you can make it, and I was really happy that the conversations went in the way of like, let's make a game that's actually physically really enjoyable to play. Like there's the playpen level it looks kind of like the Tony Hawk kind of skate, but actually when you play it, it's got a beautiful kind of weight to it, and you spin in the air like you're doing the 360, and it's got this sort of and I thought that was important from my perspective, because I thought that I wanted the thing to go into the world, and I wanted people to approach it as a game, and that if they find this other stuff out further along, that's kind of really super interesting. But actually, as a game, it's really nice to play, because I think a lot of art games are off the bat incredibly difficult to play, or like just dispose of playability at all, and just which is fine, I guess. But it was just, I think I was happy that the nature of the game is quite difficult to understand, but actually physically it's really enjoyable. Like it's just a pleasure to play that particular level.
But I guess it is quite variable, isn't it? In terms of the, like across the kind of different levels, there are levels that people, will probably find more enjoyable than others. And we have kind of played around a little bit with this idea of, I guess, kind of tedium almost. That like,
absolutely, yeah. I think that's really right. And for me, from where I'm coming from, I think that's really important. I'm really interested in the idea of grind. In game, of like repeating sort of almost like not quite Sisyphean sort of task, but the notion of grind I thought would be really interesting to turn into a form of humiliation in a way. So that grind becomes like, almost like inducing a rage quit. But that being sort of tinged with sort of pleasure as well, a kind of masochistic sort of just talking about games. For me, I think I was massively influenced by Super Mario Galaxy, and it's I'm not saying that, I just think that there are elements of that in there. When I first played that game, that was, apart from MGS, which I'm a massive fan of, but when I played Super Mario Galaxy, I understood that games were really an art form. That game has its own aesthetic and its own set of rules, which no other medium or art form could encompass. And that's when I really started taking games seriously, I think. And I think there is some element of that desire to create an encompassing world that has its own rules and its own laws that is in the Ivan Poe game as well.
Yeah, I think that's such a delicate line to tread, and it's something I was thinking about watching the playthrough, is how much making sense is important. Because some of the most sort of enjoyable and memorable gaming experiences I've had have been in games where I completely don't understand what's going on, and there's like a joy to that. But there's obviously a line where that becomes incredibly frustrating or boring, or you kind of mentally check out if you don't have some kind of handle on what's going on.
Yeah.
I have no idea what that game is, what Ivan Poe is about, but I agree with you. That's actually the most attractive thing about it, is that it's a series of okay, let's make that work. How is that going to work? Let's we sit around and discuss things, and then it's just a problem of how do we make that work.
There's also something, I think, which is again kind of a feature of Reactor's work, is that things happen and then you make sense out of them. So there is a way of mythologizing that comes out of things that happen because of the nature of game building, or things that don't work or work in a way that wasn't initially kind of intended, that then you begin to kind of excavate meaning from that, as though it had meaning originally that meant it ended up like that, which then sometimes provide explanation for something that happens in the wider project. So we're really interested in the way that the things that happen that you didn't intend start to be built into the kind of narrative of the work. So there is a meaning there. It's just a very wayward kind of meaning, and it's also potential that anybody ever fully gets it, because somewhat dispersed and fragmented kind of meaning. So even within 4 of us kind of working on the project, we will have forgotten certain things, or somebody will have meant when they said something in a kind of Discord chat. So there is that kind of, there is an ongoing misunderstanding within the group, which is the natural feature of collective practice, I think, which is that thing going, yeah, and you're both thinking exactly what that you're going to do.
So is this part of the? It's like not knowing what Ivan Poe's agenda is, what he's trying to do. You know, where is he going? What is his mission? Because in most games, obviously, there's a mission, even if it's just kind of tacked on. And with him, it's not clear.
Yeah, so I guess it is framed in the way, you know, it talks about Ivan just keeps on trucking through the kind of cosmic, an endless journey. There was like a slight reference when we wrote that to, do you remember the, what was that TV show called? With the dog? You know, the dog.
The one about the dog that keeps on trucking.
Yeah.
The little hobo.
Yeah, the littlest hobo.
Maybe tomorrow it's going to settle down, that one.
Exactly. There's no, it's a serial. You will never get there. You know, if you keep on watching, you're going to have a good time.
But because what's interesting is that, you know, taking that bit out of a game, because it seems such a core part of most video games, that there is a goal. Even open world games and even games where you're, you know, allowed to do whatever you like, there's still, even if you find it for yourself, there's a goal. And there was a piece of work by Corrado Magana called Carnage Hug, probably, I think it's about 2006, 2007, where he took the Unreal Tournament engine and he put a load of bots in a room that he built, and they're all in the room, the AI bots jumping around with their guns, and he took the guns away. And so they've all lost their reason for being there. And they start jumping around a bit, and eventually they just kind of go into a little corner and huddle together, as though they've had some kind of existential crisis of why they're in the game. And there was something about that. Ivan Poe has got this. He always has more sense. He has more kind of. He seems to have more purpose than Max Gold and the Rat to some degree. But still, there's this existential. I don't know. Just from viewers, from my perspective, there's this kind of where he's trying to find out what maybe he doesn't know he's in a video game. He's trying to find out the limits of his world.
Yeah. I always wondered if Ivan Poe was a bit like Hello Kitty, and like a sort of expressionist cube that you could project stuff on, you know, depending on your experience, whether it was happy or sad, or reassuring, or a symbol of modern capitalism, or whatever you want. You can kind of throw all that because it sort of has no.
But some of the different levels suggest different guises that you can place upon Ivan's purpose for doing what he's doing. So, or what they are doing. So the factory level, to what Bruce is saying about, you know, placing Ivan within a kind of clocking in, clocking off sort of regime where there is a kind of bullshit job to be completed within a time frame that appears to have absolutely no purpose whatsoever apart from manufacturing further elements to the game. That there is a kind of parable-esque sort of context to that level, which is maybe perhaps a little bit more overt in the way that it's suggesting, like you say, with the you know, a character that you can project a meaning on, you know, contextualize. And I think all the levels kind of have that to them. It's just that some of them are a little bit more impenetrable than others. You kind of have to search for that projection, that possible projection, and you might have to bring that yourself as well.
There's definitely something kind of recurrent within the game, which is the idea that the game is almost being kind of built or made by Ivan. So there are elements that Ivan's making in the factory. There are elements that Ivan is kind of harvesting or farming in kind of area. So there's this kind of idea that Ivan has to keep rolling, otherwise the world that Ivan exists in no longer continues this construction of the world around you.
Because he's kind of pre-Copernican, isn't he? Copernican, rather. He's the universe revolves around him. So in a sense,
that's a really nice way of looking at it, actually. That's a good analogy.
There's one level where the exit is clear from the entrance, which we thought was kind of interesting in terms of gameplay. That, you know, in terms of that thing about what Ivan's mission is like in one of the levels, you can clearly see the exit, and there's no challenge. The door is already open, and it's neon sign that points to it. Like there's no in the sense that there's no specific challenge, and that's almost like what you work out after being in the room for a while is that it is really genuinely an exit.
Yeah.
And then we started thinking about game as a kind of improvisation or musical tool in a way. And then that's as valuable as rolling, picking up coins or tokens or whatever. That actually really nice tones to the game in a way that you know that level particularly is quite different from the other ones. But yeah.
I just had a sort of question about how streaming affects your delivery and the kind of narrativization that the characters, the gold ones, are kind of producing throughout. And like with streamers generally, this is just picking up on that idea of tedium you were talking about, Nikki, but just when streamers are broadcasting for long periods of time, they're constantly sort of narrativizing their actions in order to kind of smooth over the tedium. So if you've got a Minecraft streamer, they'll be saying, well, I've got this, now I've got a nice bit of stone here, and I'll put it against this bit of stone, and I'll get the villager, and I'll drop him down the well. And there's something kind of comparable that happens with the gold ones, where everything is just enunciated. So I wondered how the nature of that kind of streaming performance is affecting the kind of language that's produced.
A lot of the language that we used this evening was kind of quite repetitive. But also, I think we're talking about a kind of, rather than really just talk. You're right. You're totally spot on with this kind of, I'm just going to try and get through this, I don't know, doorway or something, I really have nothing to say about the situation where I'm going to get through this doorway. So what I'll do is just tell you that I've got nothing to say about this situation while I'm trying to get through this doorway and blah, 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 blah. This is, beyond, but like outside of gaming, I think that is a fundamental activity within live streaming anyway. I do a lot of live streaming in my personal life and so on. And, like yesterday, for example, I started live streaming and then fell asleep, and woke up like, I don't know, 5-6 hours later. And I accidentally broadcast myself sleeping, overnight. Which, and that's like kind of on the same territory. There's this sort of, there's no interesting content unless what you're interested in is trying to get through a doorway and somebody's saying, here I am trying to get through a doorway,
But I think there's also something about this kind of idea of narrativizing what is happening in front of you, which connects back also to the agency point that was brought up earlier, and also to the kind of wider project. So a lot of the characters tell each other what the other ones are going to do. So there's a lot of instruction that happens, like I'm going to get you to do this. And also the helping hands character, which is the kind of character that comes in off, that isn't really a character, they're not supposed to be seen, will often put things in people's hands. And then the character say, oh, yeah, why have I got this rope? Oh, I want to tie up rat sort of thing. So this kind of idea of manipulating your behaviours, whether that is via the kind of helping hands or via other characters' narration of what it is that you're going to do, or even a kind of a re-explanation of why that other character is doing that. So there's this kind of continual framing of others' behaviour from your own kind of personal perspective within the project. Each of the characters thinks about the world quite differently.
And I'd say in terms of specifically performing those roles, there's always it feels like the start you get all the lines out the way, and then there's this sort of lull where you've run out of lines and you've got to move and improvise again, and that's when it starts to become interesting because things are happening in a way that you didn't really foresee, and then you kind of get into a role and you start to bring back some of those, you start to sort of echo previous performances, and you know.
Right. Yeah, then you become free after a time of attempting to improvise. You enter this kind of weird void, and then you just say whatever.
And then you become one with the character.
Yeah.
But I guess also individually we performed like days as these characters. Like, you know, some of the performances are like 8 hours long or something. So you really get to become like part of it. And I guess the streaming side of it in relation to your question is with the Rat Scout, he's got a GoPro on because he's going pro and he's like really really and he's an artist and he's like, you know, a sportsman, and he's got this GoPro because he believes he's destined for great things, and he's got this GoPro on already. So it's kind of, it's in the language and sort of things anyway. So I think the idea of the camera is always present in the work.
Yeah.
And I guess it's also that each of those characters is not a character that was pre-scripted and given to people. Each of the characters is a production of the person that plays it, which goes back to this idea that none of the characters are completely removed from the person that's in them. They might not like it because the to create ask them to perform a version of themselves that they might not actually like. But this version
I would heavily disagree with that.
That causes, so there we go. So there's so if I speak, as a member of Reactor and say that, I, as a performer, am being required to do something that Reactor is encouraging me to do, which is a facet of myself, then no, I don't, no, thank you. Max is a horrible individual. So I do not want to, like, drawing up those things.
About yourself.
Exactly.
Wow. Nicky's the control, maybe he is. Trolling one.
Maybe Nicky's doing it all.
Pulling those strings.
Yeah. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe, what can you say?
I've just raised my my corporate hand, and I thought I could just we are just gone past 8:30, so I thought we could just quickly feed in a couple of questions which have come in via YouTube. Actually, there's one question from Anna Benlock, which actually connects back to the sort of supernatural reference that was made earlier. Do you ever feel like you are invoking the gold ones into becoming actual magical entities?
Yeah.
Yes? Cool.
Yeah.
And also, I really like the
impressive magical entities. Like, it's kind of it's the person that does the clown performances for the kids and isn't very good at it.
Yes, that's correct. Like, Max, albeit, a horrible, id obsessed, like 1-year-old, is nevertheless a lovely person inside, and that's okay. It's okay. Has no regard for your feelings, has no, doesn't care about the consequences. It's my breakfast time, and that's it. I need sex, I need food, I need whatever I need, and anybody else will wait or suffer, as a consequence. So yeah, that's a magical way of being, not a particular way that I think is a good, anyway, yeah.
Good. And I'm sort of enjoying the order which I'm going to ask this question, but this comes in from Cartha Pricon, and the question is, what's a computer game? And maybe we could go around the panel and put you all on the spot, and maybe you could all answer that individually. So Mark, do you want to kick us off with
Thank you.
an answer to
What's
that
a
question?
computer game. I mean, it's so difficult, isn't it? Because obviously it's so different now as to what it used to be. I mean, I think actually Anna's question about magic and about and the answer to that reminded me of those, just a kind of the point at which games and art seem to collide at an early point in 20th century, which is with obviously the surrealist parlor games of spiritualist automatic drawing, for example, and that idea that was about bringing the inside world and the outside world together as an experience, which I think happens with Max. It happens with Ivan Poe, and that seemed to be going on in the game. Perhaps that might be a little bit of what a computer game might be. That idea of bringing an inside world and outside world together at some point.
Can I just respond to that really quickly, Mark? Because that there's a podcast that Lucy Sames put me on to called Weird Studies, and I've been talking to one of the contributors to that, JF Martel, recently, and he suggested in an email that the true prehistory of Dungeons and Dragons and role-playing games isn't necessarily the kind of strategic tabletop war games that we associate with the military-industrial complex. It's actually the seance. And it's actually the kind of medium's parlor, which I think is such a beautiful analogy and a complete rewriting of that history.
Yeah. Wow. Can I just quickly add on to that kind of comment? This is interesting. When we first started the Gold Ones project, we probably started by looking at seance kind of images, and we spent quite a bit of time in the studio just moving a gold sheet up and down on some kind of strings to try and get this kind of effect of some sort of presence and some kind of we were kind of interested in initially about, before any of the characters existed or any of the visuals, we talked about this idea of listening into the other side. That's right. So we were trying to hear the world of the Gold Ones before we could see it as a kind of
I guess it's a problem of how do you represent something that's cosmic, because everything you do is very, it's bodily and noisy and earthly bound, and it's like, how do you escape that? And I guess you're trying to will a certain magic, and certainly at the start of the Gold Ones project, there was a number of moments that really weren't magic. There was like incredibly. There was one part where we were moving a little trolley table with tea on it, and it was. I just thought, this is never going to be cosmic. There's something absolutely awful about this, and it was almost, we needed to go through that to have that transcendence through to something that has its own language. And I remember asking Reactor on a podcast about. Where do all the, weird phrases come from? And I remember the answer was along the lines of, well, you need a lot of odd things to make a very big world feel real. Like, you need to add a bullshit in to kind of pad out. Otherwise, it's just, it's if someone says, well, why you've got this thing, then you kind of need to have 3 or 4 answers, layers that go back, so people can never break out of the kind of.
Yeah, because once you start asking the question of why is that thing there, unless you've got a valid answer, then there's no reason for it to be there. And so what is that thing? Well, it's this thing. Well, what's that thing? Well, it's this other thing. And how did that come to be? Well, it came to be because of this other set of things, Yeah.
So, what is a computer game?
Jez, you tell it.
Okay, this is what I think. I think it's a form of astral projection and a form of lucid dreaming. I think those are why computer games have been invented, because they're distinct from film. Okay, film. I think film was invented to help us understand what dreams are, and I think games are invented, and they reflect a latent desire to make manifest experiences of lucid dreaming. And that's why Ivan Poe is how it is, as far as where I'm coming from. It seems to be a part of that movement to make manifest experiences of lucid dreaming and astral projection, where because it's all about the agency. And that's why games are interesting, because they are distinct from film in that way.
Nice. Kitty?
I mean, I'm going to find it difficult to put it any better than that, really. I think that's a really nice way of thinking about it.
There's a lot of nodding going on then.
Yeah. I mean, I think I can fully get behind that. I use games as a form of escapism more than anything else. So, and I attempt lucid dreaming every night. So, yeah, I'll co-sign that.
Jamie, do you have anything?
It's sort of interesting. Jez mentions that, because I was kind of thinking about games as a conduit to magical consciousness recently, but the game that really redefined my understanding of my relationship with games was Bloodborne. I don't know if anyone's come across that, where it just something about that game which has this kind of it's like a Japanese invocation of the Lovecraftian mythos, and it's punishingly hard. And it's the kind of game where you emerge from it changed. And I totally agree with you, Jez. I think that's I think you've described perfectly what I was experiencing whilst going through the 102 hours of horror that I experienced in that kind of waking nightmare.
Great, thanks. Reactor, have you got anything further to add on?
I had a friend of mine describe games as a part-time job, which I always found like he was almost competitive more than it was fun. There was something additional that he was required to do, and I often find that myself. Like I've played Red Dead Redemption for, I don't know, nearly a year, and it was me shooting birds in a particular order and like tracking down type of ferret and boats, and it was like this, like there was something. It is escapism, but it's like, I don't know, somehow weirdly more complex than that.
I guess that, Bruce, that raises the sort of horrific spectre of the digital proletariat, and how games aren't always, a pleasant experience for everyone. Like gold mining and sort of virtual currencies are, a completely different reconfiguration of play.
Yeah.
So they are a part-time. Well, they're a full-time job for lots of people all over the world.
That's right. Very good.
Well, thanks everybody. To finish on that, Jamie, did you wear that T-shirt because the Games Workshop HQ is in Nottingham?
Yeah, I just
wore it for the
get
occasion.
Free product. Yeah,
great. I'm sure they're reopening soon as well, and they have an amazing museum space, and you can pose with the real life action figures in the car park there as well. It's a great Nottingham attraction. Sorry,
Jamie has done that. I've got the photograph on my phone.
As well. We were,
I was in the picture too.
I've really enjoyed that. The performance. It's been a really great evening.